Hi, mister. This is my fourth reflection video, and this is on the section the election of 1860 and the Southern Secession. So, basically, I'm going to start with Charleston Mercury broadside. The Union is dissolved from 1860 when South Carolina declared, quote, "The Union now subsiding between South Carolina and other states is hereby dissolved," end quote, which marked the first formal secession. This directly shows the effect of Lincoln election. Southern leaders believed his presidency meant the end of slavery expansion and thus the end of their political power. And, quote, "Inside the vote South Carolina Ordinance of Secession," end quote, historian explains that secessionists justify their decision by citing, quote, "the failure of the federal government to protect slave property," end quote. This reinforces the learning objective that court and political attempts like the Dred Scott decision failed to reduce conflict. Instead, they depended on mistrust between North and the South, and they deepened it to a great extent. Next, like when we talk about like Matthew Pinster, understanding Lincoln's first inaugural address, he basically shows Lincoln's plea for peace. He reassures Southerners that, quote, "I have no purpose directly or indirectly to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists," end quote. But he also insists, quote, "the Union will continuously defend and maintain itself," end quote. And I think this really captures the tensions Lincoln sought reconciliation but refused to accept secession as legal. In President Lincoln's first inaugural address, Lincoln words again echo that balance that, quote, "we cannot separate, there needs to be no bloodshed or violence, and there shall be none unless it is forced upon the nation's authority," end quote. And this appeal to the, quote, "better angles of her nature," end quote, shows how he views secession as emotional, not constitutional, further aligning with um, key concept 2.5.22b2. That national leaders compromise the ruling could not stop the crisis. Then when we're moving more towards seeing Walter Abraham Lincoln's Jacksonian democracy, it really helps us understand how Lincoln's political philosophy evolved as the second party system collapsed. Um, Once a loyal Whig, Lincoln rejected nativism and embraced a more democratic anti-slavery vision, which writes that Lincoln came to see slavery as incompatible with democracy, quote, "as I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master," end quote. And this captures the rise of a new sectional Republican Party that defines freedom as the core of the Union. And then for this connects to like Pinsker's Understanding Lincoln Cooper Union speech, 1860, since Lincoln argued that the founding fathers believed Congress would regulate slave in its territories, and he declared that Republican position was, quote, "in keeping with the original intent of the fathers who framed the government," end quote. And this not only appealed to northern moderates, but also directly challenged the Southern claim that slavery was constitutionally protected everywhere. And yeah, that's it.